Hi, everybody. I just want to create um, some video explanations for this project and how we're leading from print to mobile throughout the next 2 weeks, just so it's easier, hopefully, to understand how we're going to use everything that we're doing this week towards next week as well. So these next 2 weeks are going to be kind of working together. This week is building, we're going to build on this week as we progress to next week. So right now I have pulled up a past student work. Before the pandemic, we actually had the print component as a major project, and we omitted that after the pandemic, but we still have to do some print component understanding because we are going to have to use the same article architecture for the mobile app. So basically, we're creating a printed magazine first and adapting that to a mobile app of your magazine. So it's both editorial, it's not a tool app, it's both an editorial publication. So it's all got the same content. So we want our print publication to carry over cohesively to the digital platform, which would be our mobile app for our magazine. So you're conceiving the magazine concept, the brand, and you're choosing one of the articles that I gave you as samples. There's 3 sample article folders in this module. And so you will choose one. That story will act as the feature story of an issue of your magazine that you're going to be designing. So I'm kind of showing you what the feature story might look like and the parts of the architecture that you're going to have to know and be aware of, because we are going to use the same article that you choose in the mobile app. And you will have to lay out the feature article in the mobile app, even though you're not going to have to do the whole feature story in the print publication. For the print component, now we are just creating the print cover. So we are imagining your magazine as a print publication first. So essentially this, which will be your minor project, your MP5, it'll have 2 parts. The first part will be your branding sheet, where you will kind of organize your magazine brand and its elements, the typefaces that go with your brand, colors, your logo, things like that. And so we're going to develop your brand concept this week. And then we're going to do a print cover of an issue of your magazine based on the feature story that you chose. So the cover image of your magazine would relate to the feature story, which is the predominant story in the magazine. We have to imagine there would be other stories in this publication, but in this case, the Billy Gibbons story is the feature of this issue. And so this student, he created a brand for his magazine called Modern Rocker. He included the issue date, and he also made up the cover lines that would go on the cover of this magazine. So generally, when we look at printed magazines, we see 2 to 3, sometimes 4 or 5 cover lines. So essentially, one will relate to the feature story. Obviously, the cover image would relate to the feature story that you chose. And then you would just make up the other cover lines that go along with this issue and what those other stories might be in this issue. And you can see that this student also included just a barcode that he found online to make it look more authentic. So we've got the print cover here. And so that will be what you will create for part of your minor project this week. But I want you to understand the feature story. So he chose the feature story that went with this. This is a Billy Gibbons story. So on the cover, he had Billy Gibbons, Hot Rods and Hot Sauce is his cover line. So it's kind of a teaser of what's in this issue. So when we get to the feature story, these are the first 4 pages. So obviously the opening 2 pages, we call this a double page spread. And these 2 pages have are basically the opening of the feature story. Usually the feature story is in the middle of the magazine somewhere. And so we want to be aware of some of the parts of the architecture here. So we have the main opening image here with Billy Gibbons. We have the main display head, or the title of the article. We have the deck, which is kind of a kicker into the story. And then we have, I'm not going to enlarge this. And then we have the byline, which is the author of the story, and the photography credit. Usually the photographer, if it's a feature story, they're doing the photography specifically for that story. So a lot of times you'll see the photo credit for this opening image with the byline displayed more formally. You know, when you choose your feature article and the images that you're going to put in the layout, when we do the mobile app, you know, you'll choose what images are going to go with your story, and the ones that are going to be the opening image, the one that's going to, you know, help tell the story. Because again, we want that verbal and visual connection. If all of those images came from the same place, we would just source those images once with the byline. If we got those images from different locations, we would source the formal credit to the opening image formally with the byline. And then if those other images in the story came from different places, we could source those with the caption under the photo, if that was applicable. In this case, all of the photos came from the same source. So he just basically sourced them once with the byline on the opening pages. So we have the main headline, the deck, byline, photo credit, and then with printed publications, we have folios, and that's basically page numbers. We don't have those for mobile apps. So that's pretty much the only part of the architecture that won't carry over to the mobile app. So usually the odd numbers go on the right page. Here he has the initials of his Modern Rocker magazine, and the page number here is his folio. And then he did add a caption for the opening image over here. Sometimes that's applicable, that's just up to you. Now here, if we were to turn the page here, we would enter the jump spread, which is the continuing pages of the feature article. So here is where he starts the actual copy of the article. He uses a drop cap, so you will be required to have the article and the copy, a drop cap, images, captions, which you will make up depending on what images you choose. You will be required to have at least one pull quote, a sidebar content. And in a print publication, you know, we think of the sidebar content, which is basically an alternate story form. It goes with the article like an accessory, but it's kind of its own thing. So here it's just about how about Billy Gibbons traveling to Cuba and how that was inspiring him with all of the music and, you know, food and culture, etc. So here is just basically his little excerpt from his travels to Cuba. And so the student put a little graphic of Cuba for a supporting image. Here's the title of the sidebar content. And again, he put it kind of in a separate little own area. In the mobile app, usually the sidebar has its own screen and it's linked from the feature article somehow. Again, he's got folios here at the bottom of the pages. These are just the first 4 pages here. So it contains all of the parts of the architecture that you will have to carry over to the mobile app. So that's why I want to show you kind of what these parts are, so you can kind of understand what they are, hopefully much easier. So again, we'll have an opening image. We will have the main display head or the headline of the article, the title, the deck, the byline, photo credits, drop cap, the body copy, pull quotes, sidebar content, images, and captions. So I just want you to understand that. So as you progress, keep on reading through the tabs, and hopefully that will help just explain a few things about this week. So this week, we're primarily focusing on the print production, which will be your print cover of the magazine that you create and conceptualize. And we're going to do a little research to develop your brand, and we are going to do a branding sheet that will work with your brand in a print production capacity.